1. Caring for an orchid pot. An elderly monk had an orchid pot that he tended with great care, weeding and watering the plant every day. Once, when he had to go away, he entrusted the orchid to a young monk for care. Following his master's instructions, the young monk took diligent care of the orchid, which thrived. Unfortunately, one day a heavy storm caused the orchid pot to fall and break. The young monk, seeing the damaged leaves, felt deeply saddened and feared being reprimanded. A few days later, when the elder monk returned, the young monk nervously explained what had happened, worried about his master's reaction. However, the elder monk remained silent. Surprised, the young monk curiously asked, "Master, isn't this the orchid you cherish and care for deeply?" The elder monk smiled gently and told the young monk, "I cultivate the orchid not to nurture anger." 2. The nails in the heart, a lesson on anger. A young man who often lost his temper went to an old man for advice on how to deal with his problem. The old man listened and then handed the young man a piece of wood and many nails, saying, "Every time you get angry, hammer a nail into this piece of wood." A few months later, the young man returned to the old man with the piece of wood full of nails and said, "I still get angry a lot." The old man smiled and said, "Now pull out all the nails and look at the wood." The young man noticed the wood was full of holes and was startled. The old man continued, "The wood is like your heart. Every time you get angry and upset with others, you hurt yourself the most. 3. The Three Seasons Debate. A lesson in perspective from Confucius. Once, a student of Confucius was hosting a guest. The guest asked, "How many seasons are there in a year?" The student thought to himself, "What a basic question." But he answered, "There are 4 seasons in a year: spring, summer, autumn, and winter." The guest shook his head and said, "There are only 3 seasons." The student, showing impatience, replied, "There are 4 seasons in a year. How do you not know this?" The guest chuckled and retorted, "There are 3 seasons in a year, and you, a student of Confucius, do not know this?" Their debate grew heated, and both were quite frustrated. Finally, they decided to make a bet. If there were 4 seasons, the guest would bow 3 times to the student. If there were 3, the student would bow 3 times to the guest. Feeling confident, the student thought, "This man is a fool. I will win this time." At that moment, Confucius came out from inside the house, and the student approached him, asking, "Master, this person says there are only 3 seasons in a year. Please settle this for us." "How many seasons are there really?" Confucius glanced at the guest and said, "There are 3 seasons in a year." The guest, feeling triumphant, demanded, "Bow down, hurry and bow 3 times." With no other choice to save his master's face, the student reluctantly bowed 3 times to the guest. After the guest left, the student, unable to wait any longer, asked Confucius in frustration, "Master, there are clearly 4 seasons in a year. Why did you say there are only 3? Confucius explained, "Did you not see that the person was all green? He was a grasshopper. Grasshoppers are born in the spring and die in the autumn. He has never seen winter. Therefore, in his perception, there are only 3 seasons. You said there were 3 seasons, and he was very pleased. If you had insisted on 4, you would have argued all night. Is that what you wanted?" The student realized his mistake. Before, he would get angry when someone disagreed with him, but from then on, he chose not to act this way. He learned that everyone has their own reasons and perspectives, and sometimes arguing leads nowhere. Getting angry in such situations is both irrational and pointless. 4. The Journey to Inner Peace. An elderly woman known for her grumpy and angry disposition often lost her temper over trivial matters. Furthermore, when angry, She used harsh words that unintentionally hurt many people, leading to strained relationships with neighbors and friends. Aware of her flaw, she desired to change this behavior. However, she struggled to control her temper when provoked. One day, someone suggested to her, "There's a Zen master nearby, also a respected monk. Why not seek his guidance? Perhaps he can help you." Feeling that the advice made sense, she visited the Zen master. Upon sharing her feelings with sincerity and a genuine desire for guidance, the Zen master listened quietly. After she finished, he led her into a meditation room, then locked the door and left. Alone and eager for the master's advice, she was surprised to find herself locked in a dark, cold room. As usual, she yelled and cursed in anger. Despite her loud protests, the master did not respond. Eventually, unable to endure any longer, she pleaded for the master to release her, but he remained unmoved by her change of attitude, continuing to ignore her. After a long while, when her shouts and words ceased, the Zen master finally spoke from outside the room, asking, "Are you still angry?" Angrily, she responded, "I'm only angry at myself for listening to others and coming to this dreadful place for your advice." Calmly, the master replied, "If you can't forgive yourself, how can you forgive others?" He then fell silent. After a period of silence, he asked again, "Are you still angry?" She answered, "I'm not angry anymore." "Why aren't you angry?" "What's the point of being angry? I'm still locked in this dark, cold room, aren't I?" The master, looking concerned, told her, "Your way of handling this is even scarier. You've suppressed your anger, which will only erupt more fiercely when it comes out." After saying this, he turned away. When the master asked a third time if she was still angry, she replied, "I'm not angry at you anymore. You're not worth my anger." The master said, "Your root of anger is still there. You need to break free from this cycle of anger." After some time, she asked the master, "Master, can you explain what anger is?" The master entered, silently spilled a glass of water he was holding, and left. At that moment, she realized something. If one is not irritated, there is no anger. With a heart free of irritation, how can there be anger? In truth, anger not only causes one's own suffering, but also pains those around us. In moments of anger, nothing stops us from uttering hurtful words, some of which might wound those who care for us. Therefore, don't let minor incidents provoke harm to yourself or others. Shouting and getting angry is the behavior of a fool. Lesson learned. Although we may not yet be wise, we are at least smart enough to prevent ourselves from being foolish. By taking things less seriously and finding value in silence, we discover the essence of Zen in life. From there, we realize that life isn't as exhausting as we thought, nor as difficult as we've experienced. Just like grains of sand in our shoes causing discomfort, should we choose to shake out the sand or throw away the shoes? We can't go without shoes because there's still a long road ahead. So why not just shake out the sand? 5. The king who was angry at a puppet. Long ago, a puppeteer made his living through a very special puppet. This puppet was beautifully crafted from wood and looked almost like a real person. He even dressed it in fine clothes, which made it appear quite impressive. During each performance, people thought the puppet could dance and sing, but actually, it was the puppeteer who sang and controlled every move of the puppet smoothly in sync with the music. The audience was always amazed and generously rewarded him after seeing the puppet perform. Word of this remarkable puppet spread, and the king decided to invite the puppeteer to perform at the palace. On the day of the performance, the king and the queen watched from a high balcony. Both were thrilled to see that the puppet's dancing and singing seemed even better than that of real humans. Unfortunately, throughout the performance, the puppet frequently faced the queen, making the king suspect that it was paying too much attention to her. The king, in a jealous rage, shouted, "Why does the puppet keep looking at the queen all the time? Behead it for harboring evil intentions." The distressed puppeteer, crying, knelt down and pleaded with the king for mercy. "This puppet is all I have to earn my living. I would never imagine it doing anything wrong. If you behead it, I will have nothing left to make a living with. Please, have mercy and spare it." But the king was too angry to listen and insisted on executing the puppet as commanded. The puppeteer continued to beg, "If you are determined to behead it, please allow me to do it myself." The king agreed. The puppeteer then pulled a pin from the puppet's shoulder, and immediately all its parts fell apart into a pile of wood on the ground. Seeing this, the king exclaimed in astonishment, "Oh, how foolish I am to have been so angry at a mere pile of wood." This story of the king's anger shows that even wise people can make poor decisions in the heat of anger without taking enough time to fully consider how mistaken they are.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
6. The angry snake who lost its spot. A little snake felt downhearted after struggling to make a living in the fields all year long. Unable to bear the harsh weather anymore, it decided to move into a human's house. It left the fields and moved into the house of a blacksmith in the village, thinking it would be cool during the day and warm at night, with plenty of food available. Being new to the house, everything seemed strange to the snake. It excitedly explored every corner until it found another snake lying comfortably on a table. Approaching for a closer look, it noticed that the other snake wasn't startled by its presence, didn't coil up, nor did it raise its head. It just lay there. Angry that someone had taken its spot and not wanting to return to the fields, the snake decided to drive the other snake away. It coiled itself, raised its head, and showed its sharp teeth, but it seemed unable to scare the other snake. Seeing that the other snake didn't react at all and just remained still, the snake became even angrier and lunged to bite its rival. It tried to bite the other snake but couldn't pierce its scales. No matter how fiercely it bared its teeth, the opponent didn't respond. It didn't stop attacking until its teeth gradually broke. Only then did it realize that its opponent was not a real snake, but a long, snake-shaped file. The snake felt extremely regretful. 7. The Nightingale's Lessons. A Tale of Pride and Learning. Once upon a time, none of the birds in the forest knew how to sing. One day, a nightingale arrived and began to sing beautifully. Its melodious voice captivated all the animals in the forest. Impressed, all the birds agreed to ask the nightingale to teach them how to sing. The nightingale couldn't refuse their earnest request and agreed to help them. On the first day of lessons, the nightingale sang a note, and the other birds tried to mimic it. After a while, the nightingale wanted to check how the students were doing, so it asked each bird to sing solo. The crow was the first to be called. It nervously stood up and sang a note, but it was off-key. All the birds present burst out laughing. Embarrassed and blushing, the crow thought, "Oh, how embarrassing! I wish I could disappear." The nightingale stopped the others from laughing and asked the crow to try again, louder this time. The crow thought, "Is this just to make me look foolish again? I don't want to be embarrassed again." Angry and hurt, the crow silently flew away and never returned to the lessons. The nightingale continued with the rest of the birds. Many made mistakes like the crow and were initially mocked, but unlike the crow, they stayed, learned from their mistakes, and patiently continued their lessons. Over time, all the birds in the forest learned to sing harmoniously together, creating beautiful music. However, the crow, still holding on to its pride and anger, never learned to sing and occasionally made the same harsh sounds as before. 8. The Falcon and the Emperor. A Tale of Anger and Realization. In the dim light of that morning, Genghis Khan, the great emperor and bravest warrior of the Mongolian steppes, set out with his closest generals for a hunting trip in the forest. The usually quiet woods were suddenly alive with laughter, the sounds of hooves and barking dogs. Perched on Genghis Khan's wrist was his beloved falcon, trained for hunting. At his command, the bird would soar high, scanning for prey. It would dive down swiftly to strike deer or rabbits. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, Genghis Khan and his entourage had caught less game than expected. Impatient, he urged his horse forward, separating from the group and choosing a longer path through a valley between mountains. After hours of riding in the summer heat, Genghis Khan felt parched. The falcon suddenly took flight from his wrist, which he believed meant it would find its way back. He then noticed water trickling from a rock. Dismounting, he took a small silver cup from his hunting bag and walked over to catch the drips. Thirsty and unable to wait for the cup to fill, he was about to drink when a sound from above and a sudden movement caused the cup to fall from his hand. It was his falcon. The bird circled a few times before landing on the rocky ledges near the water. Genghis Khan picked up the cup and again tried to collect the water. This time, before he could drink, the falcon swooped down again, knocking the cup from his hand. Furious, Genghis Khan attempted a third time, and yet again the falcon knocked the cup down. Enraged, he yelled, "You wretched creature, how dare you? If I catch you, I will wring your neck." He filled another cup, and before trying to drink, he drew his sword, shouting, "This is the last time, or I'll kill you." As soon as he finished speaking, the falcon knocked the cup once more. In his anger, Genghis Khan struck and believed the falcon was too bold. When the cup fell between rocks and he couldn't reach it, he muttered, "I'll drink directly from the stream." He climbed up the steep bank, following the stream to its source. Reaching the spot, he found what he thought was a small pool, but inside was a large, deadly snake, already dead and causing the water to overflow. Stunned, Genghis Khan stopped in his tracks, his thirst forgotten. He was heartbroken, realizing his temper had led him to kill his beloved falcon, who was only trying to save his life. From then on, the image of his falcon dying in a pool of blood reminded him never to act in anger, lest it drive others away. 9. Awakening under the tree. Once upon a time, when God saw that humans had strayed from their wicked ways, he decided to withhold the calamities he had planned for them. A man from those ancient lands was not pleased with this decision. Feeling remorseful for his past wrongdoings, he wanted to be punished and angrily told God that he was unhappy with the change and would rather die as punishment for his past sins. God gently asked him, "Do you have the right to be so angry?" The man left God and went to the countryside, where he built a hut and waited. Feeling pity for the man, God caused a bush to grow there to provide shade and relief from the harsh sun. The man was delighted with the bush, lay under its leaves, and fell deeply asleep. The next morning, God sent a worm to attack the bush, and it withered. As the sun rose, the man woke up and saw the dying bush. He was furious, cursed the dying bush, and raised his fist to the sky. The sun's scorching rays overwhelmed him, and he begged God for death right then rather than endure the suffering. God gently said to him, "Were you right to be angry about the bush? You did nothing to grow it, yet it provided you comfort. It grew overnight and died overnight without your involvement. Do you think it's right for a deity to focus only on the anger of one man, while so many others need him, people who never get angry with their God but only show respect, gratitude, and praise?" The man was shocked awake, felt ashamed, and thanked God for this priceless lesson. He vowed to God that he would become a righteous person and always strive to improve his character. 10. Lesson from a samurai and a fisherman. Once upon a time in Japan, Samurai were tasked with collecting debts for the lords they served. On one occasion, a samurai went to collect a debt from a fisherman who explained that he had a bad year and couldn't pay. Angered, the samurai was about to draw his sword to kill the fisherman, but the fisherman quickly reminded him, "My master always told me not to fight when I am angry." The samurai paused, calmed down, and did not draw his sword. He appreciated the wise words and remembered his own master's advice. He agreed not to harm the fisherman and gave him another year to pay the debt in full, warning him of severe consequences if he failed by even a small amount. Later, when the samurai returned home late, he tried not to wake his wife. To his shock, he found her in bed with another man wearing samurai attire. Furious and ready to kill them both, he recalled the fisherman's words, "Don't act while you are angry." This made him stop. He then made a loud noise on purpose, waking them up. The man turned out to be his mother, dressed in samurai clothes to scare off thieves, as his wife explained. A year later, the fisherman met the samurai again, happily reporting a successful fishing year and ready to pay his debt with interest. The samurai gracefully declined the payment, saying the fisherman had already repaid him the previous year with his timely advice against acting in anger. This story reminds us that we are often led by our emotions, and anger can make us act foolishly. Studies show that many crimes, especially murders, are committed in the heat of the moment without thinking of the consequences. Remember, saying something in anger can destroy opportunities and relationships. It's better to stay silent when angry. Anger is a powerful emotion that can cloud judgment and narrow one's perspective. It's important to recognize the dangers of anger and learn to calm down before acting. If you find it hard to control your words in anger, it's wise to leave the situation and calm down before you do something you might regret. Always think before you act, especially when angry, to avoid making irreversible mistakes. 11. A promise in a distant land. A young newlywed couple, very poor, lived together on a small farm. One day, the husband suggested to his wife, "My love, I'm going to leave home. I will go far away to find work. I promise to work hard and come back to provide us with a better and more comfortable life. I don't know how long I will be gone, but I ask just one thing. Please wait for me. Stay faithful to me while I am away, as I will stay faithful to you." The young man then left home. He traveled for many days until he came across a farmer in need of help. The young man decided to apply for the job and was eventually hired. He discussed the terms with his new employer. "Let me work until I decide it's time to return home. Please honor this request. I also don't want to receive my monthly salary. Hold on to it until the day I come back. When I decide to leave, please give me the money so I can take it home to my wife." The employer agreed to these terms. Thus, the young man worked diligently for over 20 years without a break. One beautiful day, 20 years later, he went to his employer and said, "Sir, I would like my wages now. I think it's time for me to return home." The employer replied, "Okay, after all, I will keep my promise to you. However, before you go, I have a new offer. I can give you all your wages and send you on your way, or I can give you 3 pieces of advice. If you take the advice, I won't give you the money. Now, go to your room and think about your answer." The man thought over it for 2 days, then came back to his employer and said, "I want the 3 pieces of advice." The employer emphasized again, "If I give you the 3 pieces of advice, I will not give you the wages." And the man firmly replied, "I need those 3 pieces of advice."
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
12. Letting go, the path to true joy and contentment. Why stay angry when no one is here forever? If we have more resources than we need, we should be happy to give some away and help those who are less fortunate. Wealth that comes from our own hard work can bring joy when shared with those in need. However, this is not always easy because many people always feel they don't have enough. For example, someone who has $1 wants 2, someone with $10 wants 30, and so on. This makes it difficult to give freely. To truly be able to give, we need to learn to be content with what we have. Buddha teaches us to desire less and know when we have enough. Only when we recognize what enough looks like can we start giving freely. A person who doesn't know when they have enough is like a bottomless bag. No matter how much you put in, it never fills up. For instance, if 3 bowls of rice fill us up at lunch, even if there are more delicious foods available, we should stick to 3 bowls and share any extra with others. Overeating just because the food tastes good is wasteful, since the 3 bowls are sufficient. This principle applies to other areas too, like clothing. If we have 3 outfits that meet our needs, acquiring more is excessive. But if we continue to buy more clothes, when do we stop? Knowing when we have enough helps us to share our surplus without reluctance. While it's hard to let go of material possessions, it's even harder to release our stubborn irritations and grudges. When someone annoys us, our face might show it. To end the annoyance, we need to practice letting go. This involves forgiving and moving on. Holding on to anger and resentment only causes continuous pain, affecting both the present and the future. Thus, when we realize we are harboring resentment towards others, we should happily let it go, thinking of life's impermanence and the proximity of death. Holding on to grudges is pointless. With this mindset, we should let go of all our burdens. No one is here forever, so why hold on to anger or resentment? We should also ask ourselves if we have truly learned to let go. Even if we've been angry for many years, today should be the day we release it. Holding on to grudges is like keeping a venomous snake in our house. It will eventually harm us. Therefore, when we know that resentment is poisonous, we must immediately expel it from our lives. This is true cultivation. Without grudges, our souls feel light and joyful. To achieve true happiness, we must practice letting go of both material possessions and internal grievances. Only by letting go of both can we find real joy. This is why the Buddha always appears joyful, because he has mastered the art of letting go, unlike us who often cling to our resentments, which are the root cause of misery and illness. Holding on to these is contradictory to our wish to be happy and at peace. 13. Embracing calmness, Buddhist wisdom on overcoming anger and finding peace. 1. Letting go of anger. Buddha said, "Let go of anger and you will not be troubled." An essential part of Buddhism is to eliminate distress and suffering. Therefore, Buddha advises living beings to abandon anger, as it is a primary source of mental discomfort. Staying calm in situations that might upset you is key to maintaining peace of mind. 2. Anger management tips from Buddha. Buddha advised that even though showing anger might sometimes seem to ease frustration, in the long run, anger only brings trouble to oneself and others. The hardest part is to eliminate anger right from its root in the mind. To avoid the burning flame of anger, one must practice daily. 4 books can help nourish oneself with the cool water of knowledge and tranquility, fostering the ability to let go of anger. Anger is instinct. Calm is skill. No one is free from the instinct of anger, which is present from birth. However, with our abilities, we must learn to summon calmness. This book contains teachings from Buddhism on controlling our instincts and cultivating skill, helping readers cleanse themselves with serenity. Calm and anger. This book helps readers understand the roots of anger and how to overcome it with calmness. Buddha taught that A spark of anger burns down forests of merit. Anger can destroy one's health, career, relationships, and happiness. The mistakes made in anger are often irreparable. Hence, everyone should cultivate a calm attitude towards life. Peaceful living. The Avatamsaka Sutra states, "A single thought of anger opens 1,000 gates of karmic obstacles." Opening the door to karma makes peaceful living difficult. This book offers deep insights into life, emphasizing that a peaceful mind leads to a peaceful world. Life, eternal and impermanent. According to Buddha, human life is temporary, and the body is merely a vessel for the consciousness. Since everything returns to dust, why not live a life free from resentment and anger? Ultimately, being born and then returning to our origins resembles both eternity and impermanence, a return to Buddha's embrace. 14. Mastering emotions, a lesson in mindfulness and growth. No matter how strong your anger feels, it will eventually pass. You know that your mind is changeable. Sometimes, if you pause, you'll see this for yourself. No matter how intense the fear, it too will fade. Child. Yes? You know your mind is impermanent. Sometimes just by pausing, you'll realize that. No matter how strong the anger, it will eventually go away. Fear will subside after a while. Just sit quietly and listen. Arrogance, pain, fear, and worries come flooding in, but they also leave quickly. Observe when you're angry, you might think the anger is you. You look for external reasons to blame others, which causes harm. Once the storm of anger passes, it leaves painful consequences, and these consequences bring anxiety and fear. For example, if you hit someone in anger, both you and the other person get hurt. Once the anger fades, you're left with a significant rift that's hard to mend, and the person you hit may seek revenge, causing you worry and exhaustion. Do you see the harm of ignorance? A single surge of anger can trap you in an ongoing cycle of pain. Do you see the power of thought? Just one thought can upheave your life. I know this, but we need to observe it daily. Knowing it and realizing a bit of it is not enough. Without continuous observation, you'll quickly sink back into ignorance. Thoughts that have become habitual are not noticed unless you observe and pay close attention. 1 second you may be mindful and understanding. The next, you've lost that mindfulness and have become someone else, no longer aware. So, spiritual practice requires time, persistence, meticulous attention, and daily effort. Only then can each day be a step forward. Otherwise, it's just drifting aimlessly along the river. 15. Monks and anger management. Some people say that anger is a fundamental part of human nature. Buddhism, however, does not fully agree with this idea. How can anger be a core aspect of our being when it wasn't present from the beginning? According to Buddhist teachings, from the beginning of time, all beings were in a state of true existence. Ignorance led us to develop desires, and unfulfilled desires lead to resentment and anger. This cycle of anger builds up over time and becomes a hard habit to break for many. Anger is an extremely destructive emotion. It is like a fire that burns not only the person who harbors it, but also those around them. Buddha taught that a single moment of anger can unleash numerous obstacles, and that an outburst of anger can burn up all the good deeds one has accumulated. What causes anger? Even though we live in a fast-paced, materialistic society, we have the choice of how to respond. When bitten by a mosquito, some people may smack it while others simply shoo it away. Similarly, when someone insults us, we can choose to retaliate, ignore it, or walk away. Essentially, our reactions are up to us, shaped by our ego. If we can control our anger, no harm comes about. There's a saying, one moment of patience may ward off great disaster. One moment of impatience may ruin a whole life. The scripture, The 10 Wholesome Paths of Action advises that if we avoid anger, our minds remain peaceful, free from strife and bitterness. On the contrary, if we maintain a gentle, upright, compassionate attitude, our demeanor will be dignified, and our lives and spiritual practices will be serene and liberated. As followers of Buddha, we should embrace his compassion and wisdom in our lives. We are reminded that if we can close off our senses to insults, they become like the wind, insignificant and powerless. If we fail to control our anger, harsh and harmful words will inevitably follow. People who are quick to anger often blame others, but it is really their own attachment to self and anger that is at fault. If we keep our senses open without reflection, anger flares up naturally, leading to suffering and distress. So, listen to Buddha's teachings in the scriptures. Those who do not foster anger live without suffering or conflict. Conversely, if we are always gentle, honest, and compassionate, our appearance will always be respectable, and our lives and spiritual practices will be peaceful and free. As Buddhist practitioners, we should cultivate Buddha's compassion and joyous detachment. If we can view harsh words as merely passing breezes, they lose their sting. Anger does not help us. Rather, it clouds our judgment and worsens situations. Remember, if you smile at your reflection, it smiles back. If you scowl, it scowls back. There's no need to go far to seek enlightenment. It begins with self-reflection. By treating others with kindness, even if they are cruel, and by responding to aggression with patience, we can live lighter and more peaceful lives. Those who wish to harm us will find it difficult to do so. In this way, we have no enemies, for we embrace both the good and the bad with joyous detachment. By practicing these principles, we are purifying our world. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have purified their actions, speech, and thoughts to achieve liberation. We have no other path to happiness and liberation. 16. Navigating Feelings, a young woman's journey of care and self-discovery. Stay calm as you navigate through the river of life. Dear Reverend, I have a few psychological questions that I hope you can help me understand. I'm a 19-year-old girl who is shy, introverted, and likes to study alone. I've always had few close friends and haven't been much interested in romantic relationships. However, a year ago, I met a man who is 17 years older than me. His extensive knowledge and experience have taught me a lot. I see him as a close friend. Recently, he became very ill and couldn't leave his bed. Since he is far from home without family nearby, I've been going to his house to cook and take care of him for almost 3 months. During this time, I've developed feelings for him that feel like a mix of maternal affection and romantic love. Sometimes it feels like I'm taking care of a spouse, and other times, watching him sleep, he seems like a little child. I'm not sure what these feelings mean, whether it's infatuation or something else. I hope you can offer me some guidance, Reverend. Another issue is that he often jokes and flirts with other women, which makes me uncomfortable. He explains that life can be tough, so I try to make others laugh. Maybe it's a difference in thinking, but I don't understand or sympathize with this. Could this be a sign that we might not have a long-term relationship? I've realized that I'm emotionally tied to him. Reverend, what should I do now to avoid creating bad karma and to do what's best for both of us? Response: feelings are a complex psychological phenomenon. They can change from superficial to deep, from friendly to hostile, from love to hate. It's crucial to stay calm and clear-headed to understand yourself, to see how these feelings evolve, their impact, and to avoid acting rashly and making mistakes that could harm you and others. Every situation in life is a lesson to help each person understand themselves better, thereby developing wisdom and morality by always being aware of one's thoughts and behaviors and adjusting them timely to avoid harming oneself or others. Don't worry, just stay calm and wise to learn your lessons, just like calmly steering your boat through the river of life.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
17. Overcoming anger, a path to inner peace and wisdom. Anger can seriously harm your soul. It is a long-standing affliction, one of the 3 deep-rooted poisons, greed, anger, ignorance, that cause people to commit bad deeds, leading them to continually cycle through birth and death. For many people, anger is seen as a natural and uncontrollable part of everyday life. However, Buddha taught us not to harbor seeds of hatred or jealousy towards anyone. Anger stems from both subjective and objective factors. Objective factors are those that are inevitable, things that would not change even if time were reversed. We can only accept them and find ways to overcome. However, subjective factors are under our control. We can manage our reactions to life's negative changes to prevent anger from arising and overwhelming everything, from a carefully built relationship to a long-cultivated, noble soul. Life is impermanent, so we should live like noble beings with beautiful souls and wisdom, understanding that anger, as one of the 3 poisons, can destroy our spirit, alter our nature, and gradually erode our innate goodness. However, it is entirely possible to eliminate these poisons and live peacefully and calmly in every moment. 18. The dangers of anger, how it pushes us towards darkness. Anger can bring a person closer to the brink of evil. Nobody wants to be a demon, as everyone wishes to live in peace with a clear conscience, striving for ultimate tranquility. Therefore, at every moment in life, don't turn yourself into a person with an evil spirit, harboring negativity, and most importantly, don't let anger control you. When you harbor resentment, you bring troubles upon yourself. Physically, anger makes your heart beat faster, your face flush and hot, and your muscles tense up, making your body stiff. It can lead to severe health issues like heart attacks, strokes, or other cardiovascular problems. Psychologically, anger can lead to depression, low self-esteem, and damage your own spirit. It may also drive people towards substances like alcohol, tobacco, or even drugs, affecting their health, family, and society. Furthermore, anger can indirectly or directly damage a relationship that took effort and sincerity to build. The person on the receiving end of your anger might feel deeply hurt, see you as an enemy, and could even plan revenge. Clearly, in such moments, not only the angry person but also those affected by the anger are pushed closer to becoming like a demon filled with malice. 19. The destructive power of anger and the path to inner peace. Anger causes people to lose their kind heart. When we get angry and utter hurtful words or take negative actions, we're actually the first to suffer. According to Buddha, nobody else makes us angry. We do it to ourselves. If we didn't already have the seeds of anger within us, others couldn't make us angry. It is our own anger that grows inside and causes problems, without any external force controlling us. Buddha taught to first look within ourselves before blaming others. When anger takes over, people often can't control themselves, leading to rash and mistaken actions that may cause lifelong regret and pain, and negatively affect those around them. After an episode of anger, what remains is a world of pain and a soul in ruins, resembling a tormenting demon. This state can wash away all the efforts and opportunities for a good life, close relationships, and a peaceful soul. Buddha said, A single spark of anger can burn down a forest of virtues. Don't let a moment of anger break free and destroy your kind-hearted nature. Buddha also taught that within every human soul, various seeds lie waiting to grow. Seeds of anger, greed, compassion, kindness, joy, and harmony. Those who water the seeds of anger more will likely become irritable and resentful, and the seeds that are nurtured flourish while those neglected wither. Anger not only harms those around us but also directly damages our compassionate soul. Therefore, it's important to eliminate all hatred, nourish positive seeds, control our egos, and forget our pride to become a better person, beneficial to family and society. 20. Transforming anger according to Buddhist teachings. Buddha taught that anger does not easily fade away. It cannot be simply suppressed or freely expressed. The key is to embrace our anger, soothe it, acknowledge its presence, and face our own mistakes to prevent anger from erupting forcefully. Often in life, it's easy to spot others' faults, but hard to see our own weaknesses. Embrace anger with love as if cherishing your own self. Breathe deeply and think positively to gradually dissolve the anger and feel happier. Reflecting on the harmful effects of anger can help calm our minds, making it easier to find the best ways to withdraw from situations that provoke anger. Buddha also taught that we should learn to love ourselves and others. Think about the ugliness anger brings to our face and soul, and consider how it affects those around us. This helps mature and sober our minds, leading to more measured and gentle actions. If you are on the receiving end of undesired anger, accept it with a calm mind, patience, and gentleness, and always be ready to forgive. Buddha taught us that patience can extinguish the sparks of anger, alleviate hatred, and foster harmonious, lasting relationships, because patience is the only virtue that can overcome hatred. We must recognize and transform anger. Wisdom comes from deep introspection and constant practice of mindfulness without suppressing feelings. We must observe our anger carefully to master it. Mindfulness also aids in practicing compassion and patience, maintaining a peaceful and gentle mind amidst life's inevitable ups and downs. Buddha taught that life is impermanent and no one is born perfectly good. Everyone has seeds of anger waiting to sprout and destroy our souls, pushing us closer to the edge of becoming demons. However, we control our ego and can transform it into something meaningful in life or reject it from society. It is up to us to decide whether our life will be peaceful and gentle or full of turmoil, jealousy, and resentment. 21. 4 types of people. Lessons on anger from the Buddha. Once the Buddha was staying at Savatthi in Jetavana and spoke to his disciples. There are 4 types of snakes. What are the 4? First, a snake with venom but not aggressive. Second, a snake that's aggressive but has no venom. Third, a snake that has both venom and aggression. And fourth, a snake that neither has venom nor aggression. Likewise, my disciples, there are 4 types of people in the world similar to these 4 types of snakes. First, there are people who get angry quickly, but their anger doesn't last long, just like the snake with venom but not aggressive. Second, there are people who don't get angry quickly, but when they do, their anger lasts a long time, similar to the aggressive snake without venom. Third, there are people who get angry quickly and their anger lasts long, akin to the snake with both venom and aggression. And fourth, there are people who don't get angry quickly, and when they do, the anger doesn't last long, just like the snake without venom and aggression. These 4 types of people exist in the world. The teachings of the Buddha help us understand that anger is a major cause of distress. The Buddha said, "Abandon anger, and you will not be troubled," meaning that by letting go of anger, one avoids the distress it causes. Not being hot-tempered and avoiding anger helps maintain calmness in difficult situations. Being hot-tempered and easily angered is harmful, like a fierce fire that burns not only the angry person, but also those around them, negatively affecting relationships. The Avatamsaka Sutra states, "The moment anger arises, countless obstacles open," indicating that a single moment of anger can lead to many difficulties. 22. Transforming anger through Buddhist teachings. Hot-tempered people tend to get angry easily and struggle to control their emotions. We often quickly become upset by others' mistakes but fail to recognize our own weaknesses. To transform this trait, we should reflect deeply on our shortcomings. Embrace your anger, soothe it, acknowledge its presence, and face your own mistakes to prevent it from flaring up violently. Hold on to your anger with love, as if cherishing your own self. Take deep, steady breaths, think positive thoughts, and gradually resolve the anger. Buddha taught that we should learn to love ourselves and those around us. Consider how unattractive and corrupt our souls appear when we are angry, and think about how others feel when they are unjustly subjected to our anger. This awareness helps us mature and act more thoughtfully and gently. Reflect on the harms of anger to find peace and calm within your soul, and learn to retreat from anger effectively. Practicing mindfulness also helps us cultivate compassion, patience, joy, and generosity, keeping our minds peaceful and gentle amid life's inevitable ups and downs. Life is impermanent, and no one is born perfectly good. Everyone has seeds of anger within, waiting to sprout and destroy our souls, pushing us towards evil. However, we control our ego and can transform it into something meaningful in life, or let it become something to be discarded by society. Ultimately, it is up to us to decide whether to lead a peaceful life or one filled with turmoil, jealousy, and resentment.
Hey everyone, your comments truly matter, offering insights and motivation to others and uplifting our creative team at Lighthouse of Wisdom channel. Sharing your thoughts and experiences enriches our community. So, let's get the conversation started below and help illuminate our path with your wisdom.